Oh, Dad. Oh, Dad. Won't you spare me over till another year? Well, what is this that I can't see with ice cold hands taking hold of me?
Hello, East Castle Place. Welcome to another edition of Quick Trivia with Mike. It's the weekly game show right here on Channel 955 where we test your knowledge of facts, sometimes a little bit more historical in nature. Sometimes they're very contemporary. Hopefully they're all a lot of fun. I am your host and the quizmaster, Mike Brever. Sit down, relax. Let's have a little bit of fun this next half hour, shall we? You know by now how the game works. I pose 3 questions. You get me the answers by noon on Monday. You get your picture on Channel 955 all next week as the reigning champion. I begin our show by giving you the answers to 3 questions from last week. Then I go on and I give you 3 new questions for the coming week. Let's get right to it, shall we? You know, though, we have a brand new tradition at Quick Trivia. We list East Castle Place birthdays of the week. And this week we have 2. On July 20th, Kerry Bachman is celebrating his birthday. And on July 23rd, Augie Mordiaro is celebrating the 52nd anniversary of his 29th birthday. So happy birthday to Kerry and Augie. We hope you both have a wonderful birthday day, and we hope you have a wonderful birthday week. If you pass any of these young birthday boys in the hallway, be sure to wish them a happy day, a happy birthday from all of us. Let's get right to it, shall we? Last week, we told you a little bit about Milwaukee's large outdoor festival on the lakefront. Guinness Book of World Records has indicated that at least at one point in its history, Summerfest was the largest outdoor music festival in the world. Told you that it typically averages between 800,000 and 900,000 patrons over its 9, 10, or 11-day run, depending upon how Summerfest structures its schedule. I also told you some of the wonderful headliners that they have had over the years. You know, you wouldn't think that a great city on a great lake like Milwaukee, but not necessarily known for its entertainment industry, could lure people like Dolly Parton, The Doors, Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, The Grateful Dead, Eric Clapton, Rod Stewart, the Dave Matthews Band, Paul Simon, Britney Spears, Destiny's Child, and yet they've all come and played Summerfest. Those great headliner acts, as well as many, many others, ever since 1968, which was the inaugural year of Summerfest. Pointed out, however, that was not the largest festival on Milwaukee's lakefront, and I challenged you to tell me what was the largest festival on Milwaukee's lakefront in the history of Milwaukee. The answer? Senchurama. It was first proposed by Mayor Carl Zeidler at his inauguration in 1940, a celebration of the centennial for Milwaukee. You know, Milwaukee was founded in 1846, so they were targeting something in 1946 to celebrate that great event. Senchurama was the answer. 6 years in the making. It had a wonderful host of a great broad variety of activities. It focused on the lakefront. Much of it was in an area today which is just north of the War Memorial. You know, Summerfest is just to the south of the War Memorial. But all of that lakefront area played a part. There were daily air shows based at Maitland Field. The event included Milwaukee's very first legitimate Hollywood premiere. Hollywood had just come out with a movie called Two Guys from Milwaukee, a lighthearted comedy starring Jack Carson and Dennis Morgan. Actually, both of them were from Wisconsin, so there was another tie there. 100 performers staged a nightly cavalcade of history, depicting Milwaukee's rise to its position as one of the world's great cities. The biggest one-day attendance for Centurama was 215,000 people. August 3rd, 1946, a demonstration by the United States Navy and a stage show featuring the very famous vaudevillian entertainer Eddie Cantor. I never played to a larger crowd in 2 appearances in one day as I did in Milwaukee, Cantor had told the Journal. There had been hopes that Centurama might pull anywhere from 3 to 5 million people to the lakefront during its run. However, it actually drew 2.85 million people during its run, heralding the centennial of the birth of Milwaukee. Now remember, Summerfest does 800,000 to 900,000 people a year. Centurama did 2.85 million. The largest lakefront festival in Milwaukee's history, Centurama. There you have it. Let's move on. We talked a little bit of Hollywood history for you. We talked about Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle. You remember he was one of the most famous silent film actors in the 19-teens and the early 1920s. His presence in a movie just guaranteed it huge success. However, in 1921 and 1922, he was the defendant in a widely publicized trial alleging rape and manslaughter of an actress, Virginia Rappy. Rappy had fallen ill at a party hosted by Arbuckle at San Francisco's St. Francis Hotel. After her passing, there were allegations of the rape and the manslaughter by Arbuckle. The first 2 trials ended up in hung juries. The 3rd trial actually exonerated Arbuckle, and the jury actually, in a very rare occurrence, wrote a note to Arbuckle and apologized for what the criminal justice system had done to him. Arbuckle's career was basically over. He did continue in Hollywood, but more times than not it was as a producer or director, and he actually did it under a fake name. The name of Fatty Arbuckle really was just persona non grata. William Goodrich was the pseudonym that he worked under as a film director. So if you ever see some films from the 20s or 30s with the name William Goodrich in the credits, Fatty Arbuckle. I asked you what happened on July 13th, 1913, at the height of Fatty Arbuckle's career, in a movie that has become a staple of slapstick comedy ever since. The answer? In a movie called A Noise from the Deep, which premiered on July 13th, 1913. Actress Mabel Thormond throws a pie at Fatty Arbuckle, hitting him in the face. Getting hit in the face with a thrown pie started a long comedic tradition of throwing pies in people's faces. The Three Stooges were famous for it. You know, you just see it in slapstick comedy even to this day. And believe it or not, even though it's anticipated, you know it's coming, still draws a laugh. And Fatty Arbuckle was the first. Now actually, this was not the first time that a pie hit an actor in the face. In the 1909 silent film Mr. Flip, actor Ben Turpin's character Mr. Flip is hit with a handheld but not a thrown pie, which is believed to be the first pie-in-the-face gag in cinematic history. But the first pie to be thrown was in the Fatty Arbuckle movie. Our third question. We talked to you about another Hollywood legend, but more television than Hollywood movies. Paul Winchell. We all know that he was very, very famous for his ventriloquist act. Had a couple of very, very famous television shows. What's My Name? He also appeared in his very own The Paul Winchell Show. He also was a voiceover for the original Tigger in the Disney movies. Paul Winchell is Tigger in those movies. He's been honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. You all know that Jerry Mahoney and Knucklehead Smith were his very, very famous ventriloquist dummies. Really, one of the very first, because television was very, very new at that time. And so he really reached out to the masses, and people just loved it. I pointed out to you, however, that there was a very unique anomaly about Paul Winchell's career, which most people didn't know. It occurred on July 6th, 1963. He received a patent. And I asked you, what was this patent that Paul Winchell received? The answer? Paul Winchell received the very first U.S. patent for an implantable artificial heart. Kind of a dichotomy there. He's a ventriloquist, a Hollywood actor, and he creates an implantable artificial heart. He developed it with the assistance of Henry Heimlich. That's not a coincidence. Henry Heimlich, famous for inventing the Heimlich maneuver. People choking. You reach around from behind and compress their diaphragm, and whatever is stuck in their throat comes pouring out. Winchell's also famous once again as a Hollywood actor, but the artificial heart invented by Paul Winchell was the answer to question number 3. There you have it. Those were our 3 questions. Now you know that we also have a tiebreaker. If 2 or more of you get the same number of answers correct, we ask you to identify the bumper music at the beginning of the show and the end of the show. Every week it's a different tune. It's kind of an alluring soundtrack that we have, and we ask you, what is that sound? So that's the tiebreaker. The tiebreaker last week, the music, it was the theme song from the television show Lassie. Lassie, also a trivia question from many weeks ago. Lassie was the television show that for 16 years hosted a series of male-female impersonators as the lead. Lassie was never actually played by a female dog. Lassie was always played by a male dog. It's kind of a fun trivia question from probably about 3 or 4 months ago. But Lassie was the theme song last week. Who was our winner? Sandra Meyer. Sandra, welcome back to the winner circle. Your picture is going to be on Channel 955 all week. A well-deserved credit. Thanks for playing. And thanks to all of you for watching and playing. We're now going to take a brief intermission. We'll come back with the second half of our show.
Beef patties, pickles, sauce, lettuce, cheese, and there's pickles. No.
Pickles, cheese,
Lettuce and onion, sesame, all seed bun.
I think they're describing a big...
2 all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun.
Say that again.
2 all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun.
2 all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, onions, pickles, onions on a list.
McDonald's Big Mac.
the big sandwich with the great big taste that everybody's talking about.
Sesame seed bun, and we forgot the onions.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did say onion.
Are you sure?
It said onion.
All right.
To all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun.
McDonald's Big Mac, the great big sandwich with a great big taste.
Lettuce, pickles, cheese. Hey, that's a...
Big Mac.
You deserve a break today at McDonald's.
Where your dollar gets a break every day.
Far out.
Welcome back to the second half of our show. I hope you had a chance to get yourself a cup of coffee, maybe a donut. We've got some real brain teasers here for you in the second half. I think they're going to be a lot of fun. We're going to start off with a hobby that many of us enjoy, hopefully none of us abuse. Drinking! Drinking alcoholic beverages. Specifically, we're going to look at where you do that. And pubs is going to be our introspective look for the week. Pub, a shortened form of the term public house, is an establishment licensed to serve alcoholic drinks for consumption on the premises only. The term public house first appeared in the late 17th century and was used to differentiate private houses from those which were quite literally open to the public as alehouses. You know, here in the United States, we commonly call them taverns or saloons, but in Europe, they're commonly called pubs, short for public houses. The history of pubs can be traced to Roman taverns in Britain and through Anglo-Saxon alehouses, but it was not until the early 19th century that pubs as we know them today first began to appear. The model also became popular in countries and regions of British influence. You know, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, pubs became very popular. In his 17th century diary, Samuel Pepys described the pub as the heart of England. You know, here in the States, you go to a tavern, you go to a saloon, its primary focus is the alcoholic beverages that are served. At a pub, you can typically receive great food. You can get yourself a good alcoholic beverage. It's a place to go and play a board game. It's a gathering spot. It's a community event where people go and they share camaraderie. So really, a pub isn't the same as we think of a tavern or a saloon. My question to you: we now know that public houses that served alcoholic beverages have been around a long time. There is one pub that has been around the longest. Historians tell us that the oldest bar or pub in the world is a specific one that actually can trace every owner back for centuries. Where is the oldest bar or pub in the world? What is the oldest bar in the world and where is it? That is question number one. The oldest public house in the world, by the way, in constant use since its beginning as a pub. Where is that located and what's the name of the pub? Our second question today, we're going to talk a little bit about United States history. Specifically, the National Park Service, known as the NPS. It's an agency of the federal government of the United States that manages all national parks and many national monuments and other conservation and historical properties with various title designations. The United States Congress created the agency on August 25th, 1916 through the National Park Service Organic Act. The NPS is an operating unit of the United States Department of the Interior. The agency is charged with the dual role of preserving the ecological and historical integrity of the places entrusted to its management, while also making them available and accessible for public use and enjoyment. In 2018, the NPS employed approximately 12,363. My records say approximately, but that seems like a pretty exact number to me. 12,363 employees who oversaw 423 units, of which 63 were designated as historical parks. Yellowstone National Park was the first national park in the United States. In 1872, there was no state government to manage it. So the federal government assumed direct control, and of course, it grew from there. We now have, as we know, 63 places that are designated as parks, and the National Park Service actually coordinates them. In 1966, the Park Service turned 50 years old, and the emphasis began to turn from just saving great and wonderful scenery and unique natural features to making parks accessible to the public. And that has been its charge and its mantra ever since. You know, I love to talk about presidential history. I love to talk about history in general. Well, one and only one president of the United States has served as an employee of the National Park Service. Who is that president who served as an employee of the National Park Service? That is question number 2. Question number 3, we're going to go back a little bit into ancient history, specifically Rome. We're going to take a look at the Great Fire of Rome. The Great Fire of Rome, which in Latin is pronounced Incendium Magnum Romae, was an urban fire that occurred in July of 64 AD. It actually broke out on July 18th of 64 AD. AD, of course, is another Roman term, Anno Domini, meaning in the year of our Lord, literally 64 years after the birth of Jesus Christ. The fire began in the merchant shops around Rome's chariot stadium, the Circus Maximus. After 6 days, the fire was brought under control, but before the damage could be assessed, the fire reignited and burned for another 3 days. In the aftermath of the fire, 2/3 of Rome had been destroyed. A Roman historian of the time, Tacitus, indicated that the Emperor Nero blamed the devastation on the Christian community in the city, initiating the Roman Empire's first persecution against Christians. However, some modern historians have cast doubt on the tradition that Nero actually did that. They believe that the persecution of the Christians was a completely unrelated event. Now, of course, as you can imagine, even in contemporary times with all the modern firefighting apparatuses, we have great municipal fires. The same was true of Rome. The Great Fire of Rome in 64 AD was not the first fire of Rome, but it was the biggest in that it destroyed 2/3 of the city. My question to you is that there is a tradition that during the Great Fire of Rome, Nero actually watched the city burn and played his fiddle. Historians today now know that that is not true. Historians today know that the tale of Nero watching the fire burn in Rome while he played his fiddle was not true. How do historians know that Nero was not watching the fire burn while he played his fiddle? That, my friends, is question number 3. A little bit of some ancient history, a little bit of contemporary history, hopefully some real brain teasers for you that you're going to have a little bit of fun with. As always, I would like to thank the management of ECTV, our president, Tyler Gudex, our executive producer, Laura Wengler, my producer and cameraman, Scott McFerrin, and as always, my artistic director, the incomparable Cooper Ledvina. I've said it before, I'll say it again today. If there's anything about Quick Trivia with Mike that you enjoy, Scott and Cooper's fingerprints are all over it. Let them know next time you see him that this is a show that you enjoy. You know how to win the show by now. All you have to do is get your answers to me by noon on Monday. You can email me at mbereaver@eastcastleplace.com. You can call me at 963-8425. You can write your answers on a slip of paper. Slide them under my office door or open the door. The door's not locked. Put them on my conference table. Or you can drop them off at the concierge desk and ask the hostess to put them in my mailbox. I'll get them when I come in on Monday. But get your answers to me by noon on Monday. You may be next week's Sandra Meyer. As always, I would also like to thank all of you for tuning in and enjoying me into your home, or inviting me into your home for the week. I thoroughly enjoy doing this show. I hope you do as well. I hope you have a lot of fun with it. As always, I am your host and the Quizmaster, Mike Brever. Until next time, I hope you have a great week. And if you see any of those birthday kids out there, be sure to wish them a happy birthday. So long, everybody.